Yes, people, how are we all doing? Welcome back to another stream. The panel show is back. Probably my favorite show of the week. Up there, one of my favorite shows of the week. It's always great to see these guys, Amos, Martin, Joe, and I think Jordy Porty's going to join us in a bit. Obviously, I hope you guys enjoyed the Big Steve show last night. I've had exams and that to worry about, so I couldn't do it last night, but Big Steve and Jordan absolutely smashed it. We're going to chat about the crazy game that was 4-4, Chelsea 4, Manchester City 4. A lot to dissect in that. But yeah, listen, house rules first. Do us a favor if you would, before we get started, smash a like on this stream and subscribe to the channel if you're new. We're less than 100 now of 84k, and we'd love to hit that over the international break. So make sure you're subscribed around here and get the likes up nice and early. Big up everyone in the building, early doors. Right, lads, let's rip the bandage off. Let's get straight into it, shall we? Chelsea 4, Manchester City 4. I've seen a lot of mixed reactions. Big Steve was given positivity last night, which is kind of where I lie. I'm not feeling any panic or disaster. No one died. We're all here healthy and safe. City still top of the league. I mean, Martin, let's get straight into it. What do you think about the
game? Exciting for a neutral. Awful if you support them. I really did enjoy it, and that sounds really weird because it was very un-Manchester City like. This season, we've seen the two aspects of Pep. We've seen the Arsenal go and get a point, and now we've seen go to Chelsea and have a basketball game. And it's really weird because it's like, remember, I think I said on the last one, it's like a hybrid. Yeah, that wasn't a hybrid on Sunday. That was just all out chaos. Let's go. And I've seen so many meltdowns. By the way, we're a point better off than we were this point last season. We're top of the league. Best start in, 4 years?
Yeah.
But we're having a meltdown. And because
Terrible.
we all
Sat
went
the
there
board.
and thought we were going to smack Chelsea 5-0. I was guilty of it. I thought we'd go there and win 3-1, but,
It's all right.
you know, oh, by the way, Cole Palmer's become Lionel Messi. Raheem Sterling signing back tomorrow. This is all I've heard this week. It's like I've entered Twilight Zone again. They even do it at half. Fans just need to relax. Calm yourselves. We're not going to win 38 games out of 38 games. This is not FIFA. Put your pads down. You're going to get bad times. You're going to get good times. Just enjoy the ride. What upset me more was Diaz got all the stuff. Josko Gabardio and Diaz got all the crap thrown at him. In some part, yes, rightfully so. But what can you do when the ball's coming back at you every 30 seconds? When you're a defender and the ball is recycling to you every 30 seconds, of course you're going to make mistakes. Because that was two separate teams to me. You had a back five, your four and Rodra, and then you had your front five who just wanted to attack. There was no defending in that front five. Nobody wanted to defend. So you had two separate teams. And that's what I mean by so un-Pep-like. It was, you half attack, you half defend, and we'll screw the middle of the park. Where they had Enzo, Gallagher, and Caicedo. I just found it a little bit mental the way he set up. But maybe he's bored of control. Maybe he wants some excitement in his life. I don't know.
Well, I was thinking, like, you said basketball game and you said lack of control. It felt a lot to me a bit like an older Pep Man City team, maybe the Centurions type team or the Formidables, where we were less controlled, but it was rock and roll football. You know what I mean? It was heavy metal football. If you score 4, we'd score 6. If you score 3, we'd score 5 type thing. And it kind of gave me reminiscence of that. But Martin said basketball game there, Amos, and I think that's the right way to sum it up. And we haven't experienced that for a long time. And I think the best indication of it being a basketball game was obviously me and you watched it together. And when Rodri scored that deflected goal, the first thing he said to me was, "That's not the last goal in the game."
Yeah. Well, you alluded to it there, Hugh. We had a lovely weekend in Dublin together. I was over to see the team you split in Ireland Bows. Unfortunately, they lost the cup final. Did bring home some souvenirs, though. Barry's tea. If people don't know Barry's tea, Yorkshire tea's the GOAT. Yorkshire tea will always be the GOAT. Barry's tea, the second best. It's unbelievable. Yeah, but I think that was unbelievable, wasn't the word I was using to describe City's performance, to be honest. It was, as Martin says, it was very un-City-like. And the way I've been thinking the last couple of days, I can accept those games under Guardiola because we see him once or twice a season. Last year was Newcastle. 3-3, away from home. It happens. The football we play it makes that sort of game happen once or twice. In my head, though, and I know we don't want to jump ahead too far, but I'm thinking if that's anything like that against Liverpool after the international break, dear me, that could be a completely different result. A completely different result. Because Liverpool are the sort of team who can score a goal off any chance they create. And I think if we're that open against Liverpool, then it's a worry. Grand scheme of things, going to Stamford Bridge, getting a point, not the end of the world, but I think the way it happened is sort of... I'm not, don't get me wrong, I'm not losing my head. I'm not calling for Pep. As you say, Martin, we're top of the league. We've had the best start in 4 years. There were just aspects of it that I think were a little bit worrying. Because we won the treble playing a completely different style of football 3 months ago. And we're always going to evolve. We're always going to bring new players in. We're going to look to change things up. I just worry that if you sort of abandon that defensive principle too much, it's mad we're saying that about a Guardiola team, but that's what won City the trophies. It'll be interesting to see how they respond in what is a big run of fixtures coming up.
If you're being hypercritical, what worried you the most about the performance?
Just the sort of how easy it was for Chelsea to cut through City, and it felt like and. Look, don't get me wrong, the build-up to the game was awful. We lost John Stones in midweek against Young Boys. Nathan Ake was ruled out of the game as well. Akanji had just come back from an injury. So I think I'm right in saying there wasn't a defender on the bench. Rico Lewis was the only defender, but I think even Guardiola's not classifying him as a defender anymore. So it was a botched build-up. However, just the sort of it felt from minute one, having sort of watched most of the game back, it felt like, oh my god, this is going to be one of them games. And it just felt like in that situation, there's a few stadiums, Old Trafford, we were perfect at it. Chelsea, Liverpool, Tottenham, although we don't know what it's like to score a goal there. I'd take 4 goals there later on in the season. But no matter what sort of form that sort of team is in, I always want to see us have control because they've got good players. We saw that Chelsea on their day can be good. It felt like City just wanted to blitz them a little bit. And I don't know, that away from home, that's a bold call. And it could have pulled off and City could have won 5-0 and we're sitting here going, that's the best team in the world. It didn't, so that's why we're sat here going, maybe there was 1 or 2 things we need to dissect. Joe,
do you think it feels more like a loss when you drop points like that? Because I saw Big Steve saying on the show last night that you compare and contrast both fan bases after the game. Chelsea... you'd swear they had won the Premier League or the Champions League by the draw they got against us. And then there were City fans, Steve said, coming out of the game feeling disappointed.
Yeah, it almost feels like a loss. I think I can stomach it more because we're still top. So it doesn't really bother me too much. But I think it's the fact that we scored in Rodri's goal was in the 88th minute and we didn't win the game. That's kind of the real one there where you look at it and go, you look at that goal and like Amos said, you looked at that and went, it's not over. There's something else that's going to happen. Whether it be a goal or, it was a penalty in this case, whether it be a big chance, you always thought there'd be something else. And when they hold up 8 minutes, you think there might be enough time for 2 things to happen. You never know. It was that sort of game where anything could happen. I think Jordan said it yesterday on the Big Steve show. he didn't know, after Chelsea equalised 4-4, he didn't know whether he wanted the referee to just blow the whistle there or to carry on for the next 5-6 minutes and see what happened, because you didn't know whether we were going to nick it or whether Chelsea were going to nick it or what. It was that sort of game. But I get the point of people not treating it, but maybe feeling slightly disappointed because, we went ahead multiple times and we scored so late on not to win that game. It's a bit of a blow, but at the end of the day, we're still top. So again, like I said, I can stomach it. I can take it. I'm really not too bothered by it. I don't think there's any need for meltdowns. I think it's ridiculous, but each to their own.
I think anybody who's been following City closely throughout the whole Guardiola tenure will know and take solace in the fact that we've all said it now. These games happen every season. Genuinely at this stage of the season as well. There's always 2, 3, 4 games in that September to December sort of period where City don't turn up at their best, or Pep might get something wrong, and you're going, it is what it is, because you have full faith and confidence by the time we get to when it matters most, we will get into what I call that City gear of being able to take it up a level and click into championship winning mode type thing. But I see a lot of people, when you use the word meltdown, having what I would consider overreactions regarding some of the players, and I want to have conversations about some of the players individually, because blowing my mind, particularly I want to start with this one with Ruben Diaz. The criticism he's getting online, I saw it briefly the day after the match, and I said, is this Ruben Diaz we're talking about? Is this Ruben Diaz we're criticizing for giving away a penalty? Now, granted, I know Diaz has had a couple of those moments throughout his City career, but to only have a couple of those moments that you can think of the top of your head is nothing short of outstanding in the first place. And for every one, maybe what you consider bad moment Ruben Diaz has, he has 3-4 dozen unbelievable blocks, 3-4 dozen unbelievable moments. I mean, lads, open conversation about Ruben Diaz and the stick he's getting. I'm not going to hold him. I'm not going to hold anything against him, Martin, I suppose, for the penalty.
No, I don't want to go in too hard, because I think, and that's on the fans, by the way, because I do think some fans are being spoiled brats at the moment, and I'm going to be straight with it. And maybe that's me being the dinosaur coming out. I don't know. But some of the reactions, like Cavadio and Diaz, you would think we had like Alan Kernahan and Michelle Vonk at the back and Keith Curl, the way they're talking about it. And I'm like, last week we were talking about Joshua Gavadio being a Rolls Royce and being the summer signing. After Sunday, he's a bunch of crap, should never play again. Ruben Diaz, that was the other thing I saw. Without John Stones, Ruben Diaz is awful. Now, you can ask the question within an analytical point of view, yes. But to say Diaz is an awful defender all of a sudden, it's just madness. And it's what it is too many of our fans are listening to rivals. They're listening to rival fans. They're listening to other shows where there's a negative spin on Manchester City. Because don't get me wrong, when we drop a point, there is a huge celebration around football. Do you remember United back in the 90s and the early 2000s when every team in the world was looking at the results and they were celebrating when they dropped a point?
Just to come in there, Amos, do you remember Amos in the pub we were in Dublin, yeah? When Chelsea scored the equaliser. When Chelsea scored the equaliser, I thought Ireland had won the World Cup.
Yeah, that's the way we are now. That's a credit to us. I've seen people City in meltdown. I think Goldbridge has done another video, City in meltdown again. What is this? What we're going to just close your ears. We know what we do. We know Diaz on an off day, Gavardi on an off day. It's okay. It happens. There are other elements to it which caused it. Because I'll be honest with you, I thought the left-hand side, there was no cohesion at all between the players. I know people will go mad at that, and I said I wasn't going to bring this up. So I'm trying not to. But we've got to be a unit. You defend as a team, you attack as a team. And to me, Diaz and Gavardio, yes, made mistakes, but they were left wide open for those mistakes to happen. And that's what was wrong. Normally, they've got people in front who defend and they'll stop that ball coming through on the track. Rodri said it. We kept getting done on the transition. That's normally us that are doing that. We were getting it done to us. Because nobody wanted to. It was like the front five, we're getting to the halfway line, we're going to stop. We've been told not to go back any further. And Rodri's on his own. Gvardiol's on his own. Akanji's trying to do the inverted roll again. Bless his little cotton socks. But sorry, no, he's not John Stones. So I don't know. I don't know. Maybe I'm sounding frustrating, but I'm frustrated with a little bit of the fan base with the attitude. And I'm frustrated that we're throwing the baby out with the bathwater on certain players. And it's not fair.
No, I share your frustration. I mean, I don't know, was it on Facebook maybe, that Vardiol was posting an apology. And I said, you got nothing to apologize for. Like, I mean, just on a human level, lads, we all played football growing up. Did all of us have a good game every single week? I'd be very fucking surprised. You know what I mean?
I had one every 6 weeks, if that.
So I don't want us to be like that, where if a player has a bad performance or the team have a bad performance, people start needing to apologize online, because they absolutely don't. I just think people forget sometimes, and I fully share Martin's frustration, that how good these players are, and particularly the likes of Diaz, who have been, integral to large parts of our success over the last 2-3 years, or however long he's been here. I don't buy into it. I really don't. I won't get on. Like, I know with Rodri's red card at the Nottingham Forest game, I think I spoke to you after the game, Amos, but I made it clear. I was like, look, it's annoying. It's going to damage us in the next 2-3 games, but I'm not going to start sending shots at Rodri for having a moment of madness. He's a human being. He fucked up. He knew he made a mistake. We know he apologized to the team. But when you think about Rodri and how important he was to us in the greatest season in our club's history, he played something like 58 games, and there's not one I can think of where he had a stinker or he was awful. So if he wants to have a moment of madness, you're an idiot. But I'm not going to start. I'm not going to start calling for Rodri's head and saying get rid of him. It's bonkers, Amos.
In a game that Nottingham Forest won, City still won as well. I mean, if City had conceded 3 goals in that game and had lost 3-2, and Rodri had given away 3 points, then I think it's fair to criticise, not necessarily get on the back of. But in the same with the game at the weekend, we all come on here and we all say it wasn't very good, and we say we can pinpoint errors, and we can say, from Gvardiol for the second goal, I think it was, or for Diaz and the penalty. We can say that's bad. We're allowed to say that's bad because, objectively speaking, it is bad. But when you start trying to create these narratives that exist beyond that suddenly this player isn't good enough, this player needs to be sold, I agree, it's sounding like Man United were 10 years ago. And I think, Pep Guardiola has ruined football in a sense for a lot of people. I saw a Chelsea player posting on Instagram something like, no one can stop us. They conceded 4 goals at home, and the Chelsea players are acting as if they've won the Premier League. No one can stop us. Well, apart from Erling Haaland's balls, by the way. Apart from all the other City players who scored. I mean, it's a season highlight for a lot of clubs when they get a point off City. And let's remember, go back to the first conversation we had today. It feels like a loss, and for us, it does feel like a loss to lose a game in that situation. Standard City set is going to be disappointing. I'm not saying City fans can't be disappointed. I was disappointed with it. I thought that's 2 points dropped rather than 2 points gained. But still top of the league by a point. Got one of the biggest games of the season coming up. Didn't lose the game. Qualified for the Champions League knockouts after 4 matches. Probably going to finish top. Need a point against Leipzig. I mean, if you can't be satisfied with that at this stage of the season, then I genuinely stick on FIFA career mode, easy mode, go and win 38 games, go and win the quadruple, get your enjoyment that way. Because I don't think this is as good as it's going to get for us. We're treble winners. We're top of the table after 12 games. We're through to the Champions League. We're one of the favourites. Widely thinking that we are the favourites as well to do so. What do people want? I don't know. Genuine question. What more do you want? Is it 38 game wins? Then it's not going to happen.
Invincibles.
Yeah.
Just a quick one. I know. So, people need to realise we've been to the Emirates, we've been to the Swamp, and we've been to Stamford Bridge. 3 of the toughest away games. They're all out of our way now.
Yeah.
So you got to look at it in that way as well.
And those teams have got to come to us in the second half of the season.
They want to come to Fortress Etihad. So, yeah.
I think when Chelsea come to us, it'll be a whole different story. I think, and listen, the Etihad, as you say, it's a fortress. It's a whole different beast. Anybody coming to the Etihad, but just on kind of what Amos was saying, I think it's the Pep effect. It's the Pep Guardiola effect that when Pep makes you so good and he makes you achieve things that people like Martin could only dream of in the 90s and that kind of thing, you start to get more fans and people jumping in, and that's fine. That's the nature of getting big. But people who followed Barcelona back when Pep was the manager there said the same thing. It got to the point where people were going to the new camp expecting perfection, genuine perfection. And if they didn't get perfection, they'd be calling for Xavi. They'd be calling for Iniesta. They'd be calling for Busquets. And we're talking about some of the greatest footballers of all time. But because Pep has made them so brilliant and so consistent that when it doesn't look perfect and consistent, everyone's like, whoa, nah, that can't happen. But it's up to people like ourselves to tell people to chill out. You know what I'm saying? It's a bad day at the office. I mean, Joe, the player scapegoating, it's not something I buy into.
It's not something I buy into either. I think Diaz has been pretty much faultless for the most part for 3 years, and he's given away a penalty in the last minute. So what? It's not the first time he's going to do it. It's definitely not the last time he's going to do it, because that's the type of player he is. He goes in for those risky 50-50 challenges, and that's what we all love him for. We all love it when he gets it right and he makes that tackle. He just so happened to get it wrong on this occasion. I think it's worsened by the fact that I don't think his overall game was too great. I think he was a little bit sloppy maybe on the ball as well, but I mean, like Martin said, I think Big Steve said it yesterday as well. It's like a basketball game. What can you do when they come at you every 30 seconds because they just turn the ball over and run? I think Pep said it in his press conference. They turned the ball over and Gallagher had run 40 metres and be in on goal. Like, realistically, what can you do when that's happening so often? So I'm not annoyed by it. I think if he doesn't try and make that tackle, Broha turns and scores, everyone's going, well, why didn't he try and tackle him? You know, he swings and roundabouts. You know what I mean? Like, everyone's going mad either way. So, he's got to do something.
That's the nature of being a centre half, isn't it? And the nature of his type of player. He's combative. He gets stuck in. He takes those risks and he plays for us. And he's been so good for us because when he takes those risks, 9 times out of 10, it pays off. And we're all going, wow, what an absolute block or challenge that was from Ruben Diaz. But, I mean, LB 1998 with the £2, big up for the super chat, says, Liverpool drew to Luton. That's more of a meltdown. Would we agree with that, lads?
It doesn't suit the narrative. They're playing red.
No, I think
City gone to Luton and draw. If City go to Luton and draw in 3 weeks, you'll see a whole different media reaction than what you would for the Liverpool one.
I mean, people with pitchforks.
That being on the Big Six, there's different. there is different rules for different football clubs.
I know, and I think the reason the meltdown is so big for the City-Chelsea game, it's just because we conceded 4. You know what I mean? If that was a 1-1, would the meltdown be as big? If that was even 2-2? Or is it just the fact that City, who have been so defensively sound for months now, I mean, wasn't there a period where we didn't concede for a long time at all in
First
some competition?
time in 3.5 years we conceded 4 or more.
Like, do you know how mental that is? How crazy.
Was it Leicester City at home?
Yeah.
Not 5-2.
Oh, God.
Which tells you, and
that was a meltdown, by the way. That was bad.
That was Eric Garcia, wasn't it? Eric
That was
Garcia.
the weirdest game being signed that stadium
Jesus.
that day when I'm watching Leicester and I'm like, wow, that was just crazy. No, the simple fact is that these games, I honestly think Pep got away with a lot more criticism than I thought. I think it all, and that's not, I'm not saying, I'm one of these. Constructive criticism is fine. It's when you do this, I wish they were injured, never want to see him in a blue shirt again. Sell him and go and buy somebody else like you just can do. The window's not even open and we're just going to, swap down and here we go. But it told you what kind of a game it was, is that he tried to bring Grealish on and Kovacic on to get control, and it was still the basketball game. Because it was just all over. And then you watch Pep's presser afterwards, and he says, "Did you have fun?" And it was like Pep just wanted that game of, "I want some fun. I want all the, it's slick, it's raining. Let's go to London and have a laugh." And that's what it looked like. Honestly, because it was so un us. It really was unlike us completely.
But Newcastle was unlike us.
Yeah,
Arsenal was
we
unlike
changed
us.
after that, didn't we? He stopped doing Kyle Walker. We made Cole Palmer and Sterling look like. I mean, Sterling is a very good player, but Cole Palmer took the absolute mick out of us, and we allowed it. He just said it was just one of them games. You go, great game, enjoy it, and move on. Because it won't happen at Liverpool. That will not happen against Liverpool.
Yeah, we're gonna get into the Liverpool game because that's obviously next up. But yeah, look, the meltdown's crazy. The meltdown's crazy, but it is what it is. Like I've already said, it happens. It does happen a couple times a season, and I think for us as a fan base, it's just unique to us right now. Is that when something goes wrong or you feel we've had a bad day at the office, you're always really confident a big performance is going to follow it. You're always really confident. You gonna say something, Amos?
No. I can do if you want, but I was just scratching my face.
I thought you were. I was like,
you trying to jump in? I was like, sorry, but not like you're always really confident. He's gonna fix it, or maybe the boredom he might have had going to London and tried to chase that excitement that's out of his system now, and he's going back to being careful. But professional idiot with the 5 as well. Big up for the super chat, professional idiot. You've been on it today, man. He says you could be Spurs and implode on yourself and go down to 9 men. Well, fortunately, we didn't do that professionally. We didn't do that, but big up for the super chat. Yeah, I want to touch on the next player that's getting criticism. I do want to touch on Cole Palmer and Sterling a bit as well later on in the show, but Jeremy Doku, lads.
not doing it.
You said the word. You said the name.
But Amos is gone. He's left.
I've had enough.
Oh, no.
Listen, you signed up to be on the show. We're talking about Doku, right? Jeremy Doku last week grazing the big six, saying he's the best winger in Europe right now. He was the king of Manchester. He's the reincarnation of Leroy Sané. He's the reincarnation of Pele. He was getting all his plaudits, and I was here for it. I love seeing our players get bigged up, but now they're not happy with him because he had a bad performance against Reece James and that. And the whole, it's flipped entirely on its head, the narrative. It's totally flipped on its head. Doku, yeah, I mean, Martin, go on. I'm waiting for you to hear what you have to say about this.
People forget he's a kid, he's 21, and keep saying he played less than 1,000 minutes for Rennes last season. I don't, this is what happens when some fans big up a player so much. Like Lionel Messi just walks into the room. and then the trouble is they don't know how to backtrack at that point then. And that's why I was saying, just let the lad develop. He's not going to know. We've always said, or I've always said, give a player a year. We've always generally said, give him 12 months, let him adapt to a Pep Guardiola game. Yes, Doku looks fantastic going forward, but we've seen now on a number of occasions he struggles with the tracking back. We know that. West Ham, Wolves, you can go through them. But that's something he then learns on the training ground. He'll get better at doing that. But on the other side, it makes me laugh because last season we got, it's boring football. I don't want to see 500 passes and then going backwards. But we won a treble. We wanted the fast pacey winger, the chaos football. That's exciting because that's what they pay the money for. Football's exciting. Then when you get the 4-4, there's a meltdown. Well, which one is it? Do you want the chaos? Do you want the control? I don't know because fans just let Pep do his job. Too many fans are trying to be standby managers, and the trouble is they've put the flagpoles in the ground of where they want to stand. Grealish has suddenly now been blamed for boring football and control, and Doku's now the saviour of chaos football and the most attacking football ever. Why can't we just let them develop as teams and just develop before our very eyes? Doku is going to have bad games. He's going to have wonderful games. Same way Grealish did. He started off badly, injured, came in at Old Trafford in Young Boys and was magnificent. Can't we just, there's going to be games where we use one, games where we use both, games we use neither. That's just the way it is. We've got to stop this I'm in this camp, I'm in that camp. We're Manchester City. Like I said earlier, we're not Doku FC and we're not Grealish FC. You need to stop it. I'm sorry. It's like we're not. I'm sorry. I'm being a right moaning git tonight, and I'm not. But I'm at a point where I've had enough of it. It's boring, and I'm going into other streams on other channels, and they're saying the same thing. They're all getting bored of it because we're all here to support one team, not players. It feels like a very minor Messi versus Ronaldo debate. Remember them all? He's better than me and I'm better than him. And it's like the other day I said on Thursday, I would have rested Alvarez because I thought he looked a little bit leggy over his last 2 or 3 games. I'd arrested him, took him out, and put a bit more of a workman-like midfielding. And I got bombarded. 3 DMs telling me I don't know what I'm talking about. It's my fault City's attitude is like that because of old men like me. Go back to Main Road, blah, blah, blah. So, look, can't win.
No, I get it. I get it. Martin, you do a lot of the shows with rival fans as well, and whenever one of our young players or newer players burst onto the scene and has an exciting impact like a Doku, I'm always very reserved with handing out my own flowers. You know what I'm saying? I like to hold them back a bit. Like even on that Big Six show where Grizz was saying Doku's the best winger in world football right now, or whatever the line was, it was along those lines. I said, yeah, he's doing great, and we're really happy with him, but he's still really raw. He still has so much to learn. His first touch, his decision making, his timing. There's so many things that we need to watch Jeremy Doku work on before we start putting him in that Gundogan category or that Mahrez category of elite Manchester City players. Because whilst it's great when he plays great against Brighton and Bournemouth, he's inevitably going to have a game like Chelsea. It's going to come along where he doesn't look as good as he did the week before, and everyone's having throwing criticism at him. So my whole thing with these players is we saw it. Mahrez was the perfect example of what we want Doku to become. I don't mean player-wise. I mean, Mahrez's first season at City was a bit stop-starty, bit stagnant at times. It looked like it took him a while to settle in. Next season, bang, he's getting goals and assists. Next season, even better again. That's what Pep does when he brings a player in. He brings a player in because he likes their attributes. He likes the type of footballer they are, but he wants to mold them into what he wants. Did it with Jack Grealish. So I like to hold back a bit. So I'm not going to jump on Doku's back either off the back of a bad performance. Same way I didn't big him up too much after a good performance. Said he was brilliant. But, let's let him keep learning. Amos, it's a bit mad.
Yeah, I mean, looking at the game, Doku did exactly what he was asked to do. He was told to hug the touchline. He was told to press. He was told to attack. He was told to stay up. In another world, City win that game 4-1. City didn't lose. Oh, sorry, I keep saying lose. City didn't draw the game against Chelsea because, I mean, I personally speaking, okay, gloves off. I'd have started Jack Grealish because I think he just actually it gives you that extra protection on the left hand side.
He's gone there.
I know, and I do. I've said it before. I've nailed my colours to the mast before in these big games. I think Jack Grealish is the man who's suited to it. But in that particular game, Doku gave City what Pep Guardiola wanted him to. And it's ironic because he was brought in for goals and assists, and that was the sort of game where he's going to get the goals and assists, and it didn't quite happen. But on another day, he has 2 goals. And that chance where I saw someone say it in the chat before, he should have squared it, and City are 4-2 up at that point, and they probably win the game. But he isn't brought in to do that. He's brought in to be a direct winger who gets an opportunity to shoot, and 9 times out of 10 will get it on target. A lot of the time will score. Grealish does square it, but Grealish wasn't told to play in that way. It is about finding that balance, and it is about noticing that Grealish will give you maybe a goal and an assist every now and again, but his all-round impact on the squad, on the team, the way City play, is incredible. Doku will give you goals and assists, but at times he can be a little bit erratic. That's okay, by the way. He's 21 years old. He can be a little bit raw. That's okay, by the way. He's 21 years old. He might miss a few chances. That's okay. He's 21 years old. I mean, it's a good problem to have, Hugh. Don't get me wrong, but it is a case of again, I said it before. What do you want? We were calling out for this direct winger who's gonna sort of bring this new dimension to City. He comes. He has one brilliant game. He has a bit of a ropey game the next week. That's we knew what this was. We knew what this was. You know what I mean? No surprises there. We knew what this guy was, and he's great. He's wonderful. He will be fantastic. But it is what it is.
I just hope people use this game, or I don't know, maybe look at it properly and actually appreciate. For those who haven't appreciated up to date what Jack Grealish offers, you know what I mean? It's like you become so used to how good he is and what he offers to our team that when you don't see it anymore and it's not there, people start saying, "Oh, we've lost control," or the next winger's losing possession type thing. As Amos says, they're both there to do totally different things. And they're both still developing. They're both still learning. I know Jack Grealish is a bit older, but he's learning all the time. I mean, he said it in one of his interviews on City's official YouTube channel. Like, Pep sometimes tells him to do things in training or says, "You're going to be doing something this weekend." And Jack's going, "What? Like, what do you mean I'm playing as a left back type thing?"
Yeah. But Doku wouldn't get that, would he? Because he's not that type of guy. So people sometimes get on Jack's back because he's being asked to do more of the defensive stuff, and Doku's the guy who's getting those. They bring two different things. Just appreciate it, enjoy it. I think that's hopefully the last thing I have to say on the two of them for this week at least. Until next week when we're having the same chat.
It's just a matter of we have more in our arsenal now off the back of having both of them there. Both, being able to deploy two different types of wingers depending on the situation you're in or depending on the fixture. But you have to allow for the fact that just because you play one and not the other means one's going to bang and one's not. They might both play in the same game and have a negative impact. They might both have a bad game, but you can't say they're both crap. It's a wild conversation that I think we're going to constantly be touching in on, unfortunately, Martin. I know you're not a fan of that one. Joe,
I'm totally fine with the combo. It's the all the criticism. It's like you got to be in one camp or the other. That's the bit that annoys me. Why can't we just embrace both? Like Amos said, it's like pick your side. No thanks.
Choose your fighter. I like them both. I've said from the minute we've had both since Doku signed, they're both going to offer different things, and I think for the large part, at least us in the panel and most people in the chat get it. But I mean, Joe, with Doku, I mean, what are your thoughts on the whole situation? I think we are all kind of in the same camp.
Yeah, I mean, I actually completely agree with Amos. I would have started Grealish against Chelsea, or at least started with him, because I think for the first 10 minutes of that game, I thought Chelsea were all over us. They were absolutely all over us. We couldn't get a kick. We really struggled at the start of the game, and that's where you look at Grealish and go, he can keep hold of the ball, can win a few free kicks, maybe even get someone on a booking. That'd be the ideal situation for a Jack Grealish type of player. But then again, I also understand the other side of the argument where you look at Doku, who's told to stay high and wide, up against Reece James, and if Reece James bombs forward like he likes to do, you're looking at that space and going, we could be on for a winner here. He could go up the other end and make something happen, which is something that Grealish can't do. So again, it's 50-50. They both complement each other. They both do different things, but I still would have gone with Grealish to start with because it might be seen as the safer option, but those big away games, we spoke about it on a few shows ago, I think, about how we played last year in the Champions League in the away games. We kept it tight. We just tried not to lose. And that's the sort of thing that game was the complete opposite. It's not that we didn't try to lose. We tried to go all out. We tried to go for it. And it just didn't really work. But yeah, I think it's pointless to compare them because they both do complete opposite things. And I think we said before, they can both play together as well. It's not like it has to be one or the other. You can play both. It's not out of the realm of possibility. I mean, we saw it, I think it was in the Young Boys game where Grealish ended up playing in the midfield and we had Doku on one side and Foden on the other. All three of those could play together. You don't have to bench one of them. It doesn't have to be like that.
And I think we're going to get plenty of surprises as the season progresses. Sorry, for some fixtures you might see lineups that you don't expect at all. You might see Grealish and Doku playing at the same time. Who knows? But
what I will say on that, when the time comes, Grealish assists Doku or Doku assists Grealish, you're going to see me griddying around East Manchester like no man has ever gridded before. When that goal happens, I'm going to be doing the griddy for 24 hours straight, and I will be on here. Saying that then.
Yeah, and don't get me wrong, Grealish, like I said, I thought Grealish was bad when he come on. It was just not that. The game had gone by that point. The game was beyond bringing back because, like I said, it was just two. You had two separate factions going on in that game. And it's not even I'm going to go at Doku because I love Doku. I think he's going to be... He excites me. He really does. But there's, like Joe and Amos said, there's going to be games from Doku, games for Grealish. We need to stop this choosing stuff.
No, I agree. I fully agree. MJG window cleaning with the member for 6 months. 6 months, half a year, MJG. Congratulations. He says, Martin, you know when you're getting old because moaning becomes second nature. Is it true?
And morning becomes night, as you're about to say.
Big up MJG window cleaning for the 6 months. Big up everybody in the chat. Nearly 200 in the building right now. Hope you're all enjoying the show. Do us a favor if you would and hit that big like button below us. It massively helps more people find the show and the channel and that. And subscribe if you're new around here. I want to move on to one of the hot topic players of the game who's getting his flowers. And I think it's fairly justified. Cole Palmer, lads. I mean, just throw the big question out there. Was it a mistake selling him?
Big question indeed. I mean, I'll start because I said on Twitter at the time I thought it was a mistake, and we're not going to know if it's a mistake or not until we all look a little bit older and we've all got a little bit more grey hairs in 10 years' time, because he is that type of player. The issue, I think the bigger question, was it a mistake selling him this season? Are City missing him this season? And obviously you look at the table, you look at the results and you go, no. However, I think there's a player there. And I think he's only going to get better with the right coaching. He needed minutes. I think what I will say, if you want a hot take on this, at the moment, out of Cole, out of Chelsea, out of City, City are probably the worst off from the transfers so far, although I don't think it's necessarily sort of reasons to be ringing the alarm bells. All I'm saying is like it could be a mistake down the line. He's got the talent.
I never wanted to sell him. I always really, really liked Cole Palmer, and there's enough evidence on this channel throughout the summer when he might go to Brighton on loan. I think Leipzig were interested at one point as well in Cole Palmer. I always said keep him because I was a massive fan of him, but I mean, it was tough for him last season because he's been deployed in the left wing. He's never been a left winger. He was never a left winger growing up. It was never his thing. So it was hard for him to, take his opportunities that were few and far between, playing in a position that didn't suit him. I don't know. Does it seem to you, Martin, maybe like Pep didn't trust him properly at the time?
I don't think he was ready for Manchester City first team. Or no, I don't think he was ready to play week in, week out. And I don't think he wanted to play squad rotation anymore. I mean, there was quotes from Pep in there. He asked him, he said, I'm bringing in a winger, which was Doku. Mahrez was leaving, and he wanted out. He said, I want to go. And that's fair to him. Do I think it's a mistake? No, I don't. I really don't. Because there's two things in that showed me. City didn't do a buyback. City
I don't know if Chelsea would have let them, though. That's the
other thing. Yeah. Chelsea might not let it, but I think City were just happy for him. You don't want to be here. Like they have with everyone. If you don't want to be here, you can find another club. We get decent money. Good luck. But are we going to look back in 2 years and think, oh, that's a miss? I'm not sure, because we don't know what City are going to do down the line in the market. I know that sounds odd because I'm one of them. I want the EDS to come through. I really do. I've kind of put that to the back of my mind now. I know that ain't going to happen. The EDS is there to make money, not to, unless you get that real special player in. I'm not convinced Cole Palmer's there. Maybe I'm being harsh on Chelsea, but there's levels between Chelsea and Manchester City right now.
No, 100%. I think you can look at it two ways. You can look at it the first way in a negative connotation and say you're selling who is undoubtedly a very good player and could go on to be a really, really top player. Or else you could look at it from the business perspective, which we have to do at times, and say we sold an academy graduate for 45 million. That's absolutely unbelievable business for 45 million to sell a player like that. And it kind of paid for the Nunes deal. Hopefully he works out. But I mean, Professional Idiot again with the super chat. Thanks for the super chat, Professional Idiot. Big up. He says selling Cole Palmer was not a mistake this season. We got Doku, who has a higher ceiling, playing at a position he should at least look decent. Would you agree, Joe, that Doku has a higher ceiling than Cole Palmer, just off your viewings of both of them this season? I mean, it's both of their first seasons properly in the Premier League with consistent games.
Yeah, I'd say higher ceiling based on position as a winger, which is what Cole Palmer would have been. I think Doku has a higher ceiling because he's more suited to it. He's a bit quicker. I think in terms of dribbling, in terms of running at a man, I think he's better. But I agree with Amos. I think I tweeted it as well. I felt like we would regret it down the line with Cole Palmer selling him because I really, really liked him. I mean, he scored in the Community Shield. He scored in the Super Cup. Like, he got a couple of big goals. Like, he wasn't a bad player. But I also get what Martin was saying in terms of he wasn't ready to start week in, week out. He just wasn't at that level yet, and he wasn't willing to wait. So that's on him. We have this same philosophy when it comes to selling players that if they want out, they can have out if they can find someone. And 45 million was just too good to turn down. For someone who we paid nothing for someone who'd barely had a kick in the Premier League, 45 million was far too good an offer to turn down. So I get it. I understand it. Like, I was satisfied when we sold him, given the terms of the deal, the money that we got. But I just can't, I just have this feeling that in a few years we're going to look at it and go, he's really, really good. And he's kind of one that maybe we let go too soon. But there's nothing we could have done about it. If he wanted out, he wanted out. So there's nothing we can do to change that. Even if we would have kept him, he still probably would have wanted out in 6 months and pushed for it in January. So I don't feel too bad about it, but I still kind of feel like, what could have been maybe.
I mean, just as an open question, kind of yes or no, and for the panel and for the chat as well. Do we think it was purely business? Was it just simply an offer City couldn't turn down? 45 million for Cole Palmer. Like, let's say it had been 25 million. Do you think City say yes
possibly.
or
no? Can I pose a new question to you? Can I throw that question back? I've just thought of it now. We like to speak about, Doku's getting compared to every man. I'm going to get compared to him in a minute, and I don't know what. I don't think there's an attribute that I'd be able to better him in, to be fair. But he's getting compared to Cole Palmer. Are we not really meant to be doing this with Matheus Nunes? Because Doku's a different player. They've played in different positions. They're completely different profiles. It's comparing apples and oranges. Matheus Nunes is the guy who came in who's maybe plays a little bit deeper, but is in that midfield role. And I think, like you say, Hugh, if you've watched the academy, you'd have known Cole Palmer either plays on the right wing or as that sort of advanced midfielder. He gets the freedom. That's what he's doing at Chelsea, and there's been games he's been pulling the strings. Is it not a case of Nunes versus Cole Palmer? Because, the fees are similar, aren't they? They came in at the same sort of time. I don't know. Business, maybe?
I'd say more
like you say.
Foden. I'd say more Foden Bernardo if you're going to go on that right wing. And does he get
I think Nunes is a great one. I don't think Nunes is a great one. Although, when I've watched Nunes, he's found himself on the right wing at times, somehow.
Yeah, he's a floater, isn't he? Yeah, he's a floater.
Yeah. Do you know what it was with me with Palmer? Go back to that Super Cup and watch the second half. Palmer in the first half was a different player to the Palmer in the second half. And I thought, scored the goal, he's doing really well. And then I watched it back a couple of times, and I had a mate who was over there. Pep literally coached him all the way through the second half. Honestly, go back and watch it. He was on Pep's side, and Pep literally did nothing but talk to him all the way through. That told me you're not quite there yet. If your manager has to literally coach you through 45, 50 minutes of an half, you're not quite there. And I'm being probably sounding really harsh. Cole Palmer might be a great player, and I was gutted he went. But if you keep Palmer, you might not get Piqué. You might not get whoever else comes down the line. So I suppose it's a gamble, and it's like Pep said. He asked him point blank, and he said, I want to go. So, yeah, I think it was business, but I also think it was, no, he said he wanted out.
Yeah.
He asked to go. I think that is the biggest thing to me. He asked to go.
Yeah. I think it's an interesting one, the Cole Palmer one, because he really could go on to be special. But I think there's also an element of people gassing him up so quickly because Chelsea have been so bad for so long, and he's come in and he's single-handedly performed for them. He's delivered in games consistently, and they haven't seen that for a long time. So there's just almost an element of wow. There's someone in this Chelsea team actually looking consistently good. But look, it is what it is. I'm a fan of Cole Palmer, and I wish him well. I said at the time I thought it was a mistake, not selling him from our part, because I'm still undecided, but I thought the club he chose, I thought was wrong. I thought going to Chelsea was a mistake because for me, it felt like that club was a circus. They're just throwing money left, right, and centre. The amount of wingers they have and do have right now, I was like, why has he chose that club? But listen, he's taken the opportunity with both hands, and he's playing very well, and he's just got us called up to the England squad. Congratulations to him. So we'll just have to see how it works out. Professional Idiot again with the 10 says, by the way, sometimes we have to get rid of good players to get phenomenal players for what we need. Inevitably, good players leave, but our scouting directors are brilliant at replacing them man for man. You know what, Professional Idiot? Sometimes I think me and you are telepathic, because this was the exact next thing I was about to say. Like, you have to be so confident in our board and the business we've done since this board have come in that, yes, it might seem weird selling a player with a potential ceiling as high as Cole Palmer's. It's always with foresight, though. They always have a plan as to what they want to get. Didn't pull the trigger on Harry Kane 2 summers ago. The following summer, we go and get Erling Haaland. So, does this mean we're going to go and get some big boy winger next summer? I don't know. You've got your Wirtzes, you've got your Musialas, you've got your Paquetas. There's plenty of players that we've been somewhat linked with. So we could say in 12 months' time, well, it wasn't the end of the world because we ended up going and getting whoever. Mbappe I've seen linked with us in the last week, but I don't think that one's happening anytime soon. Big up for the super chat.
Why could that not happen?
I don't want it to happen.
No, I know we don't, but he's only got 6 months. He's only got 6 months left.
Madrid, innit? The boys.
Is that a unanimous no? Hypothetically, Mbappe to City, just off topic completely. Is it unanimous? No.
It's a no for me.
It's a no, but it would be funny.
It'd be incredible.
Martin's like, I've watched so many shit footballers over the years.
From an egotistical point of view, no. 100% no.
Yeah, that's it.
If City did it, I would know why. I would understand why. Because
it'd take a lot of mentality shift for him to sort of fit.
You're extending your stadium up. You're building a 5-star hotel. It wouldn't surprise me if they did it. It'd sell how many shirts? Because listen, we're all sat here now going, oh, he's got really bad attitude. He's an egotistical sod, blah, blah, blah. But if he turned up, we'd all be out in the streets dancing, winding all around. Going, we've got a front three of this, that, that. You've got the 2 Ballon d'Or, 2 and 3, the future top boys. It's like having Messi and Ronaldo in your team. I don't want it to happen, but it does make me wonder. I was like, he's only got 6 months left. PSG are not going to let him walk out on a free. They are not going to let him just walk on a free. And no one is talking about where he could go in January. It's just completely gone. Because Liverpool was talked about, well, they've still got Salah. They'd have to sell Salah to get Mbappe. There's only us left. Because he's not going to go United. He's not going to go Tottenham. He's not going to go Arsenal.
Imagine.
Is there another club apart from us that would actually fit his profile or what he'd want?
It's a decision I would question, personality based. I would question it massively because
it's a Man United signing all day long. It's an Instagram FC signing, but I'm just surmising it. The more I think about it, I'm like, I just find it weird how in 2 months he can agree to go anywhere next summer, or PSG have to sell.
But they accepted the offer from Saudi, didn't they? Yeah. And he said no.
So
they tried to shift him, yeah. It'd be whether he wanted to go. Yeah.
Yeah.
I would question it, but I know for a fact all 4 of us would get an Mbappe jersey. We'd be sat here the first time of the season with a jersey with Mbappe in the back. You would.
Mbappe.
DMs now of Martin, why he said no. I'm just saying that from a fan's point of view, no. 100% no, thank you. But from a club point of view, I understand it.
Commercially,
unreal.
Yes.
It'd be unreal, wouldn't it? You imagine like that week after we signed him, be unreal. Like the meltdowns. It'd be the end of the world. It'd be the end of the world for everybody else until they realised that it's probably not going to work because of, like you said, his ego and the way he is as a person.
Can you imagine Haaland and Mbappe in the same Manchester City team? Martin, Steve listed off a lot of crap players in the Big Steve show recently, and you were in the chat active. Back then, could you have even considered the idea of having an Etihad Stadium and you're there watching Kylian Mbappe and Erling Haaland, the two, best young players in the world.
That's beyond my realm of possibilities. Some of the shit I've seen is just, yeah. It's you're giving me nightmares. I'm getting flashbacks. You know what though? It was fun because this is where I've always said the City fan base is a bit different to United, because I mean, like, it's one of them. We've been through it. It's why we can embrace these moments now. Because it's one of them. They always say, have you got to be bankrupt or go poor to then embrace being rich? Or do you just become rich overnight and then you're rich straight away? It's one of them. Have you got to go through adversity to appreciate the good things? I don't know, but yeah. Thanks for reminding me of that lot of crap.
Well, listen, you can take solace in the fact that the football's a lot better these days and you see a bit more silverware. So,
oh no, the Brian Horton football was good. When we had Beagrie, Walsh, Uwe, and Summerby and all them, that was some decent football. We just
my granddad to this day still says, I don't care what they win these days, nothing will compare to Summerby, Bell, and Freddie Lee.
Yeah, don't be daft. That's showing we've got an Xtra. You start talking about Belly and Summerby, and first team to win a European trophy and a domestic trophy in England, but never mind.
I'm telling you, we
won an FA Cup before Arsenal were even invented. Highest attendance. I'm just
class and tradition, though. That's what Arsenal said they've got, and City don't. Class and tradition. Remember
I'm giving
that.
Facts now.
we need that Big Steve ex Mancunian way stream loaded up soon, Martin. We want to hear. We want to hear what you guys have.
Ask me at the end.
Yeah. Rasav here as well says, guys, can we also give credit to Chelsea and to Poch's tactics? We have dominated the Prem, but should be wary of what Chelsea are building. I did want to touch on that. You have to give Chelsea credit for being able to go toe to toe with us. Like, we have struggled in the last few years. The odd time, Southampton have done it, Palace have done it, Newcastle have done it, Liverpool always did it, with teams that take the high risk, high reward approach of, we're not going to sit back off City. We're going to go meet them in the middle, go toe to toe. Could get leathered 6-0. You could draw 4-all. You could win 2-0. So, I mean, lads, Chelsea, you got to give them their props.
Yeah. I think they're a better team than the table shows at the moment. To be honest, they're sitting in 10th, but they've had some games where they've dominated and just been hit on the counter attack. Late top 4 push, maybe. I think top 6 is definitely something they should aim for.
Yeah, top 6. I think they'll just miss top 4. I think they could. I mean, you've got to get it right at some point with that amount of money.
Yeah.
You can't spend that amount of money and get it completely wrong. And Poch is a very good manager, and that was my fear on Sunday. I looked at their midfield and I thought, oof. Like, there was a lot of fans really underestimating Reece James, and I'm like, I'd have him at City tomorrow as a Walker replacement. Tomorrow I'd have him. I think he's a great player, and I think he'd fit in with Pep. But it's whether you get his injuries sorted out. But I think if Poch has to be given the time, say he goes through another bad patch of results, will he get the time? That's when I think the Chelsea board have to be strong and go, no, we're going to stick with this guy now for the next 2 or 3 years and then build on it. Because I think so far they've been too trigger happy. And yeah, but I've really been impressed with Chelsea in the way they've come. I wasn't impressed with the Tottenham game. Like I said, I thought it was primary school, but I honestly think he is building something quite nice now.
Do you think there'll be a force in the next few years, Joe, Chelsea?
If they keep with Pochettino, yeah, I think they could be. Depends how like Martin was saying, how trigger happy they're going to be. It's Chelsea. You never know what's going to happen over there, but they've got new owners, so maybe he's not going to be trigger happy. Although they went through, 3 managers last season in an interim. So you never know. But no, I think Poch has really finally figured something out tactically, because he messed around with the start of the season. There were some games he was a 5 back, some games it was a 4 at the back. He didn't really know what he wanted to do, but I think he's finally figured something out. And they've got Nkunku coming back. Really interested to see how he kicks on as well. So yeah, top 6 should be their aim, and I think it's doable.
Yeah, it's a really interesting project, the Chelsea one. Just the manner of the takeover and the amount of money they spent so soon. But yeah, listen, there you go. Rasav, Chelsea are getting their props and deservedly so. But listen, we've just hit the hour mark. It's been an absolutely fantastic show. I know we said we touch on Liverpool, but hopefully next week, if the lads are about, we will get a panel show going and we'll touch in, or we'll have a good chat ahead of that Liverpool game. It's a 12:30 kickoff. It's stinky. I'm going to be there. I'm looking forward to it, though. The fan cams will be back. So, yeah, myself, Amos, Martin, Joe, maybe another guest or two will hopefully be back. So keep your eye on the channel for when that is next week. Big up to absolutely every single one of you. Still 200 in the building. Fantastic numbers tonight. Big up to everybody who's super chatted. If you haven't done so already, make sure you smash a like on the stream and subscribe if you're new around here. It is the international break, lads, so we can all kind of relax a bit. Martin, on the Mancunian way, what have you got coming up over the next fortnight?
This week we are starting a new series. We haven't quite penciled the name in yet. But yeah, we are going to do a main road series, which will start some point this week with me and Steve. This week we'll start. I have had confirmation of that. I've got to speak with Steve tomorrow just to double check times, days. But yeah, it's going to go ahead. We're going to talk old games, old players, the best players, the bloody worst players. Just the atmosphere, everything about Main Road. Because loads of people have been really intrigued with it. And yeah, we thought we'd actually go ahead and do it.
There you go, people. I've been saying I want to see the show myself. I'll definitely be tuning in when Martin and Steve and those guys chat about the old days, Main Road and that. So do go over to Mancunian Way and show him love over there. Amos, the City Report pod, active as ever. What have you got over the international break?
Yeah, plenty of concept stuff. It's where we like to have a little bit of fun. Tomorrow, really fun episode. Actually, just recorded it before jumping on here. Manchester City What Ifs. It's almost like a ripple effect style show. I think the three we did was what if Kaká had signed in 2009? What if Aguero had missed his chance against QPR in 2012? And what if Pep didn't join in 2016? So sort of looking at what might have been for City. And, of course, drinking plenty of Barry's tea. Up the Barry's tea.
Would have been stuck in Division 2 with a load of crap.
Yeah.
That's a sick concept. That chat, make sure you go over to the City Report podcast and check out that episode when it drops. No doubt it'll be an interesting conversation. And Joe, of course, is with me over on my personal channel. I'm doing reaction videos over there. Joe, you are hoping to get some City content up and going soon, aren't you? Because the people are enjoying you.
I am, yeah. Hopefully after the international break is done and we actually start again. I've got a little bit of time to think about it, but yeah, I'm helping you out with your reaction videos.
Yeah, Joe's a big part of the branded City Extra. All the shorts and reels and all that stuff you see on all the socials, Joe makes them all. So Joe's a big part of the great content that we have coming out all the time. And hopefully, like he said, he'll have content of his own coming out over on my personal channel. But listen, we're going to wrap it up there. It's been the hour flew by. I really, really enjoyed that show. It's an absolute pleasure to chat to you three as always. It's an absolute pleasure to have all of you in the chat as always. And we have the DAPS show tomorrow at 9 p.m., the first edition of the Down With DAPS show. So we'll be back at 9 p.m. tomorrow. DAPS, as always, I'm sure we'll have plenty to say. And we look forward to seeing you then. In a bit, people, good night and God bless.
Go!